So Fortnite Chapter 3 has arrived, and since we've been given a brand new map, I think it's only right if we rank every new location from best to worst in a tier list. Now we have received some old POIs, some new POIs, and it's time to rank these, so let's just get straight into it. So first up we have got the tier list itself on screen, 5 different sections, S being the best and D being the worst. And first up to start off we have got Camp Cuddle. Now this is a pretty cool new location, as you can see on screen. Kind of gives off Loot Lake vibes, and it's got the Lonely Lodge tower as well with the buildings, which I think is really cool, sort of referencing Chapter 1, and it's kind of like bringing back the old vibes from that location. But it has overall got a few wooden shacks with the lake, and it's just a chill location where probably not that many people will land. But for me, I'm going to put it in B tier. I think it's an okay location, nothing too insane, but nothing bad about it either, so I'll just put it in the middle. Now next up we have got Chonkers Speedway, and this one has got a nice mini racetrack in the desert. It's got vehicles so you can rotate out after looting up with an okay amount of loot, but nothing special because there's not really that much loot to actually get. But in terms of an overall location, it's not too bad, not my favourite. I'm probably going to put it in the C tier. I think it's okay, I like the desert sort of vibes, and I think as an overall POI it's not too bad. There's definitely some other better ones in my opinion, so I'll put it in C tier for now. Now next up we have got Condo Canyon, and this one is very similar to Paradise Palms, not only because it's actually in the desert, just like Chonkers Speedway, but it's actually very similar to Paradise in terms of the buildings and the amount of loot. And in terms of a hot drop, you'll probably see a lot of people landing here, especially when the bus goes right over it. It's a really good place to land to loot up and get some wins. Definitely one of the best in my opinion, and you'll probably see me landing here quite a lot if I'm going to try and get some wins and just play it out to loot up and go on to have a good game. So for me, this one has to go in A tier, definitely one of my favourites, and I think it's a great POI. Now next up, Coney Crossroads. Now this one is a small town, it's got a few buildings which are like shops, and it's got an okay amount of loot, but overall it is quite average in my opinion. I think even though there's nothing particularly bad about it, there's just nothing that stands out that makes you want to land there all the time, so I'm going to put that one in B tier, quite average for me. Now next up we have got one of the most iconic locations in Fortnite, Greasy Grove. Now we all know how good it is. It's finally back, and there's actually no taco time as well like there was in Season X, so that's good to hear. But overall, we all know this is a solid POI with great loot, and it's just always a reliable place to land, so just get straight to it. I'm going to put this in A tier, can't go wrong with Greasy Grove. Now next up, Logjam Lumberyard, and this one has got a decent amount of mats, very similar to Logjam Woods from Chapter 2, where you could just land there, farm an insane amount of mats and then rotate out into Weeping Woods. But this one, I think it's slightly better than Logjam Woods. It's got a few more buildings and a lot more loot, so I'm going to put this one in B tier. I think it's not too bad, but again, I think there's definitely some better POIs from Chapter 3. Moving on, we have got the new Risky Reels, which is of course Rocky Reels, and it's basically just Risky Reels 2.0. Now Risky was somewhere where I always landed during Chapter 2 when doing customs, and it was probably my most landed locations and a personal favourite of mine as well. And Rocky Reels is just as good, if not better. It doesn't quite compare with some of the other locations, but still an overall good location, you know, decent amount of loot as well. And overall you can't really go wrong with it, but it's definitely not the best, so I'm going to put it in B tier again, just straight in the middle. It's not too bad. Next up we have got the Sanctuary, another great location. I've landed here a few times and it's always got some action and a lot of loot as well. You always leave there with a decent amount of loot and mats, and it's got the iconic statue of the Foundation, which makes it even better. But overall, good location on the map as well in terms of where it is placed. You know, it's in a good location, you can rotate out, get some more action, rotate into another POI, and personally I actually really like this location. I'm actually going to put it in A tier, definitely one of my favourites from Chapter 3, and I think just the looks of the location as well, like the actual scenery with the trees and the statue as I mentioned, really nice, so that's definitely going in A tier. Now next up, another location which did return from Chapter 1, which is of course Shifty Shafts. Now this is basically the exact same as it was in Chapter 1, and it's great to see it back as well. It brings back some memories, as I actually always landed there back in Chapter 1 and then just rotated out to Tilted Towers. But it's a good location and I think everyone's happy that it has returned. We all know how good Shifty is, but again, not the best, so I'm going to put it in B tier. It's still good, but not quite up there with some of the others. Moving on then, we have got Sleepy Sound. Now I actually really like this location as well. The lake, the location in terms of where it is on the map, a lot of mats, loot, and you're guaranteed some action when you land there as well. So for me, I really do like this location, and it definitely is one of my favourites. So I'm going to put it in the A tier, not quite S, but I definitely really do like Sleepy Sound, and overall one of my favourites from the Chapter 3 map. Now moving on, we have got one of the fan favourite locations. Everyone loves this one, the Daily Bugle. As you can see, look at this, we've literally got Spider-Man's location. You can see the cobwebs around the POI that you can actually bounce off of to get around faster. The buildings are amazing with lots of loot, and it is kind of like the Lazy Lake version of Chapter 3, or even Tilted Towers, with the insane big building there in the centre. And it is kind of different as well because it's got the cobwebs, which I think is a really cool addition to this map. And I can literally imagine just landing here with a Spider-Man skin, grabbing some loot, and then jumping onto the cobwebs and just getting some eliminations before rotating out. My personal favourite location, mainly because it's based off Spider-Man, but for me this one's going in S tier, definitely my favourite compared to the others, and yeah, it's just one of the best in my opinion. Now moving on, we have got the Joneses, if that's how you pronounce it. Now this one, we've gone from the best location to the worst. This one is probably below average in my opinion. I think it's, you know, on the edge of the map, so you're not getting much action, not many buildings to loot from, and even though it's got a lot of mats to farm, which is the main positive, I don't think it's a very good location. And just to make the tier list a bit more interesting, I'm going to put it in D tier. Looking at it compared to all the other locations, probably is my least favourite new POI from Chapter 3, and it's got to go in D tier for me. Now as you can see, I've rearranged each section on screen, so here is my final and official Chapter 3 location tier list. So comment down below your favourite location from Chapter 3, and if you enjoyed this video then you should definitely hit that subscribe button. Also, YouTube thinks that you like this video next. Let's see if they're right.